And may I say good afternoon to everyone, and we welcome you to the Township of Douro-Dummer's Council meeting here on the 21st of September, 2021. We welcome all of you who are joining us live on YouTube, or those of you perhaps who are watching the replay on YouTube. Anyway, good afternoon. Welcome to our meeting. We're going to have as efficient a meeting as we possibly can. I am going to ask our delegations to adhere to the 10-minute time limit so that we can have the opportunity to ask questions. I'd like to call the roll, please, so everyone knows who is who on the meeting today. First of all, Deputy Mayor Carl Moher.
Here.
Thank you, Carl. Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Landsman.
I'm here too.
And Councillor Watson.
I'm here.
Thank you. And our staff in attendance. We have Alana Arthurs, our CAO. Alana, we see you here. Thank you. Martina Chade-Hartwig is our deputy clerk, and she is the one pushing all the buttons tonight. Chuck Pedersen, our fire chief, I believe, is called away on a fire call at the moment, but if possible, he'll be with us. And Paul Kramer, our treasurer. Paul, a big wave from you, and thank you very much. Okay, before we get underway, we respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Michi-Sagi Anishinaabe Nation, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. We hope everyone will join us for a moment of silence as we remember the reasons we're here in the first place, and also to pay tribute to those who we have lost in our township since our last meeting. Please join us for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. Any members of council have any pecuniary interest with any of the matters we're dealing with today? Okay, seeing no hands. The agenda that's before you, could we have a motion, please, to approve and adopt that agenda? Councillor Watt, and seconded by Councillor Watson. All in favor? That motion is approved. The minutes of the September 7th meeting are also before you. A motion, please, to receive and approve those minutes. Councillor Landsman. Councillor Moher, all in favor? That motion is approved. We're moving along quite nicely. Any business arising out of the previous minutes? Carl, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, one item, just a question. 9.3 of the minutes of our last meeting had to do with sewage system re-inspections. I think the last part of the resolution, we asked that various suggestions be considered, but we didn't put a timeline on it. I wonder, is it possible to maybe have a best guess and when we could see when those suggestions would be considered? Would within the month or within 2 months, or what would be appropriate?
Staff, who wants to handle that one? Alana?
Through the chair to the deputy mayor, I think whatever council is comfortable with, we can pass that direction on to Mr. Fawcett and ask him to bring it back, giving him sufficient time, potentially in the next 2 meetings, the end of October, beginning of November, if that's...
That would be fully satisfactory.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. Anybody else? Business out of the previous minutes? Okay, seeing no hands. We will indeed move right ahead to delegations, petitions, presentations, public meetings. And we're going to have a presentation from Tracy Bertrand of PKED. There, Tracy, how are you doing? It's great to see you. Odapitaniman. I've learned that from you, and we respect that phrase. So, Tracy, I'm going to ask you to adhere to our 10 minutes, if you could, please. And with a minute left, I will do that.
Okay.
And we'll have the opportunity for questions. So You can go ahead.
Perfect. I think I'm going to share my screen, or I'm going to attempt to do this right now, folks. Bear with me here because we have a video as well. So I want to be able to share that. One moment as I set this up. And if somebody could let me know when they see the screen, that would be wonderful.
You can see it.
Great. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off my camera here for a minute because I find it a little easier for me if I don't have my camera on, and maybe I can and maybe I can't do that. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to turn off my camera, but I'm going to move through the presentation and I'm going to be looking at a different screen. So I do apologize that I'm not looking at those that are watching the YouTube video. I do apologize for that, but here we go. So good evening, Council. Thank you so much for having me here today to present the Visitor Pledge. The pledge was launched on July 6th, and this evening I'd like to formally introduce the Odapitaniman Pledge to you tonight. We've been referencing the work that Peterborough and the Kawarthas Economic Development has been doing on the Visitor Pledge for a few months now, and I've made a few presentations to various councils, and happy to be with Douro-Dummer tonight. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank the CAO and staff at Douro-Dummer Township for assisting us through the Tourism Management Committee in bringing this tremendous asset to launch. The Visitor Pledge is a strategic long-term commitment to help ensure this destination is enjoyed by future generations. In 2020, COVID-19 hit the tourism industry very hard, and it's certainly one of the most impacted sectors and is likely to be the last to recover. In many parts of Ontario, including Peterborough and the Kawarthas, the 2020 tourism season looked a lot different, as did the 2021 season. We experienced the results of over-tourism as droves of domestic visitors came to this destination to escape the cities. Seasonal residents came earlier and stayed longer. While strategically we were preparing for this trend to happen eventually, we certainly didn't think it would happen as fast as it did. While other destinations experienced a decline in visitation, Peterborough and the Kawarthas saw an increase in the number of visitors escaping to the rural destinations. The timing of the launch of the Odapitaniman Pledge was aligned with the 2021 tourism season, as we were all experiencing a very different year again in the tourism sector. In late 2019, we began to explore the concept of a visitor's pledge, which is a tool and resource used by destinations wishing to be sustainable. In 2020, our research indicated that a visitor pledge had been widely used to also curb the effects of over-tourism. We hired a consultant and connected with the SETI Tourism Working Group. SETI is the Community Economic Development Initiative, and cultural experts at both Curve Lake and Hiawatha First Nations. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to thank Tom Cowie and Jack Hogarth for assisting in the consultation of the Odapitaniman Pledge. The land acknowledgement was the starting point for the Visitor Pledge, as it's embedded in all that we do. From there, the direction of the pledge was driven by PKED's Future Ready strategy, where we committed to strengthening relationships with Hiawatha and Curve Lake First Nations in order to enrich the fabric of our region and to become the most sustainable and innovative community in Ontario. Rooting the Visitor Pledge in Indigenous teachings was a result of the commitment made in the Friendship Accord. The meaning, Odapitaniman, is the Ojibwe word for respect and also means to treat someone with great care. It represents the importance of protecting the land on which Peterborough and the Kawarthas is located, honoring the people who call it home. It reflects a universal value of respect by drawing on the teachings of the Mississauga Anishinaabe and serves to unify everyone for whom the region lives within their hearts. It's pronounced Odapitaniman, and it elevates the local Indigenous heritage and aligns with recent commitments to collaboratively recognize traditions and richness of culture from the 2019 Friendship Accord. A visitor pledge is a commitment made by visitors to make good choices and respect a destination, and it's an educational tool meant to increase awareness of and appreciation for the tremendous assets that we have in cultural, historical, and natural. It represents a value of a particular place. As a region that welcomes more than 3 million visitors a year, Peterborough and the Kawarthas understands that when achieving a successful visitor economy, it's essential that a destination foster a strong pride of place among residents and visitors. After all, if locals love and respect where they live, they're more likely to spread the word and good feelings and to inspire others to visit as well. The effects of COVID-19 have fundamentally changed the visitor economy dramatically, shifting consumer behavior. This has provided the opportunity, however, for destinations to hit a reset. The Odapitaniman Pledge provides Peterborough and the Kawarthas an opportunity to create a renewed sense of togetherness, discovery, and identity among its residents and visitors. The Visitor Pledge will serve as a guiding principle to all that hold a special place in their heart for this region. The adoption of the Odapitaniman Pledge also serves as a bold next step towards following a history of hard work and investment towards reconciliation and solidarity with First Nations people of Peterborough and the Kawarthas. The pledge will serve to inspire pride in and honor the traditional teachings of Curve Lake First Nation and Hiawatha First Nation, and pave the way for sustainability and innovation in tourism within this region. The Odapitaniman Pledge honors both place and people using the universal value of respect. In 2019, Indigenous communities and municipalities in Peterborough County, along with PKED, signed a friendship accord with the guiding principles to commit to understanding and respecting each other's values, customs, and beliefs. The accord marked a moment in time where an existing interest in forward thinking, cultural collaboration, and community building culminated in a public declaration for progression, partnership, understanding, and respect. A quote from the Honorable Elizabeth Dowdswell: "Inclusive economic prosperity is often a goal to be achieved, a strategy set in place where the best case scenarios mean that no one is left behind. What is so powerful about the Friendship Accord is that inclusive economic prosperity is not a future ideal, but an active practice, one that is done in the spirit of friendship rather than a winner-take-all approach." In Peterborough and the Kawarthas, we believe that the water connects us all. It gives us everything we need to live authentically and make new discoveries, gather nourishment, strength, and inner peace. Water is the original open road where families make memories and our paddles find purpose, moving us ever forward. In return, it's our responsibility to respect the land of shining waters, to care for it like it cares for us, so that we and future generations can continue to make cultural discoveries, forge new friendships, lose ourselves, and find ourselves in the great outdoors for years to come. The Odapitaniman Pledge is about respect. Respect for the land, respect for each other, and respect for those who will come after us. The Michisagiga Anishinaabe of Curve Lake First Nation and Hiawatha First Nation uphold the traditional teaching Odapitaniman to give respect to all creation as a means of living sustainably and in balance with the land, waterways, and each other. So whether you feel at home in Peterborough and the Kawarthas, or you're visiting for a day, a week, or a few semesters, taking the pledge means you are promising to protect and preserve this incredible place, its heritage and culture, as well as the welcoming spirit of its people. It means you understand that what makes Peterborough and the Kawarthas extraordinary, and you are making a commitment to do everything you can to help keep it that way. We invite you to join our community of communities as we make a commitment to be kind and respect all creation. If we've learned anything in 2020, it's the power of unity, of working together for a mutual cause. Respect for the people, the culture, and the natural spaces we depend on for our future generations, for each other, has never been more important. We are asking all that hold Peterborough and the Kawarthas in a special place in their heart to pledge to be a steward of this destination. So while you're traveling through the township of Douro-Dummer, Pledge to be light on the land and wise on the water. Explore your surroundings with an open heart. Ask for help when you need it and be kind to strangers. Before starting your day, gear up, make a game plan, and get wind of the weather. Remember your miigwetches, thank yous, and mercies. With every new season, seek fresh experiences and flavors, trails, and friends. Place safety before sport when pedaling, paddling, parking, or powerboating. Be it bison, baked goods, or crafty brew, buy local where you can. Greet new cultures and traditional teachings with curiosity, kindness, and compassion. And after feeding your soul with authentic adventures, take fond memories with you and leave nothing but footprints behind. So the call to action for us was to launch the pledge, to have people take the pledge. I'm going to try and play for you the video right now. Hopefully it works. If somebody can give me a signal on whether or not it's working, that would be great. And I will also show you the website that was created for the pledge. So I'm hoping everybody can see this particular website.
Good.
Excellent. So this is the pledge that the web landing page that we created, and I'll get to the video in just a second. But when landing on the pledge, it talks about essentially what I just shared with all of you tonight, shows the pledge right here, as you can see. And then it gives everyone an opportunity to input their name and determine whether they're a visitor or a resident, and then they can take the pledge. So once you hit the take the pledge button, the calculations down here, sorry, I just hit something. You'll see 1,071 pledges. If you take the pledge, it will be 1,072 and so on. So we have the live ticker on the website. We are hoping that each one of council will take the pledge personally on our website to help us reach our goals, and certainly share it through your social channels as well. And I'm going to attempt to share the video. Are you able to hear it?
Yes, we can.
So much. So let me just get back to the slides. So the pledge, as you can see, we had a goal when we started the pledge in July. On July 6th, we set a goal of 500 pledges to be set and taken by the end of 2020. We were so incredibly happy and pleased to see that we hit 500 pledges within the first week of launch. And a lot of that is attributed to the work that each township did to help us get the word out about the pledge. So we're so pleased to tell you that we've reached 1,077 pledges, which means we've surpassed our second goal of hitting 1,000 pledges by the end of 2021. So we will continue to ensure that the pledge is embedded into, oh, sorry, I just hit a button that I wasn't meaning to hit. we're going to embed the pledge into all of our marketing campaigns and all of our future campaigns to ensure that it's top of mind. And then in 2022, we will be focusing a large campaign on the visitors. By sharing the pledge to the visitor audience. In 2021, you'll notice we shared it with those people that were here. So our stakeholders, our townships, the city, our 2 First Nations, our businesses, our associations. So we just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing us to share this with you tonight. I know it's been a repeat for some people on council and maybe for some people watching tonight, but we do appreciate the time that you've allowed us to take to share this with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. What is your hope that members of council who haven't taken the pledge can go on the website and do just that? We hope. Yes,
that is our hope. And obviously our hope is that the Township of Douro-Dummer endorses the pledge and you've already said it at the beginning, Mayor. So certainly by going on to the webpage and taking the pledge on your own, that would increase our numbers. And then of course, leveraging it in any way possible in Douro-Dummer Township, in your social media, your businesses can certainly leverage it. And we're here to help with that in any way possible.
Okay, that is great. Any questions from any members of council before we ask for a motion? Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you, through the mayor. Tracy, that was a lovely presentation. I did the pledge several months ago. Are you and PKED comfortable with that presentation being shared with others?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, for sure. And thank you so much for taking the pledge. We truly appreciate that. And I'm open to also delivering the pledge to anybody that is wanting me to deliver the presentation as well. But either way, totally open for all of that.
Well, I have the option to get it out to a number of area cottagers in the next 2 months. And I think they would enjoy it. And I think they would all take it. It's beautifully done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. I will share the presentation with Martina and she can make sure that you have it.
That's great. Anybody else before I ask for a motion, please, to receive the delegation and to endorse the pledge and spread the word? Sheila, you'll make that motion? Carl, you'll second the motion?
Yes, I will.
Any comments on the motion?
Great movement. Very positive.
It is. And Tracy, thank you for all you're doing. I know you did a great job with these presentations. So, Odapitaniman. That's all we got to say.
Thank you for your time.
That's
and
right.
Odapitaniman, miigwech, thank you and merci.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, please. That motion is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right on now to our second 10-minute delegation. This is regarding the study of off-road vehicle use. Jean Chartier and Diana Adley from Stantec Consulting are here, and a familiar face for all of us, Peter Nielsen from the county. Hi, Peter, is here. Jean, I'm not seeing your partner. Are you by yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am here. Diana is here as well.
Okay, Diana, you're hiding. There she is.
She's there now.
Okay. Hopefully you can keep your time to the 10-minute delegation time, and we'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll just going to share my screen to deliver the presentation. So this evening, we're here to present an update on the off-road vehicle use on county roads study that forms part of the Peterborough County Transportation Master Plan update. Our objectives for this evening is to update yourselves on the status of the project, to give you a sense as to what's happened and where we're heading with the work that we're doing on this topic. Talk a little bit about the decision-making process that County Council has come up with to address this matter. Discuss the potential approaches that we've identified for addressing ORV use on county roads. And finally, just provide a brief outline of our next steps, including the engagement process that we're following to move towards a recommendation. But before we get into the presentation, I thought it would be helpful just to maybe remind members of council or remind those that are watching this sort of what regulatory framework applies for the legislation of off-road vehicle use on public roadways. So it's under the Highway Traffic Act that legislates the use of off-road vehicles. There's a specific regulation that deals wholly with the operation of off-road vehicles on highways. That regulation works in cooperation with the Off-Road Vehicle Act, which is the overarching piece of overarching statute of the province that governs the use of off-road vehicles, whether they be on public or private lands. Sets out items such as safety specifications, vehicle dimensions, things of that nature. On the 1st of January this year, the legislative framework changed in Ontario. And with the change to the regulation, the province, in essence, flipped the legislative regime from where a municipality wished to allow off-road vehicle on its roadways, they would have to enact a bylaw. Now the situation is that all roads are available for off-road vehicle use unless the municipality specifically passes a bylaw to regulate or to prohibit their use on their roadways. So that's sort of been a big change in terms of the regulatory framework around ORV use on public roads. However, that change didn't affect the county's road system. It wasn't one of the identified municipalities with the change to the act. So in essence, the old regime still applies for county roads, whereby off-road vehicles can't be operated on a county road unless there's a specific bylaw that's been passed enabling their use. Now, in Peterborough County, there's a variety of different bylaws that are in effect at the lower tier municipal level. As you can see in the table, that there's 5 municipalities, including yourselves, that have a bylaw that pertains to the use of off-road vehicles on public roadways. The Township of Cavan Monaghan bylaw does not permit ORV use on any of its roadways, whereby Havelock, North Corth, and Trent Lakes, their bylaws permit ORV use on all of their roadways. And in your case, as we understand, there's a couple of sections of Township Road where they are permitted to operate. At the county level, the county's basic premise is that they're not allowed on county roads currently, save and except 11 locations in Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, where off-road vehicles are allowed to operate on county roads. There are the 3 municipalities that haven't enacted a bylaw to date, so we're sort of keeping that in mind. Now, in terms of the engagement that we've done overall through the study, we've had 2 rounds of public engagement, whereby the first was to introduce the study and to obtain some information about some specific issues and locations of off-road vehicle use. We then reached out late last fall, early this year, to get some more detailed information from select participants on the existing or the desirable routes for off-road vehicle use. We've also, the Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee of County Council has also entertained a series of delegations at their meeting in April, both parties that are for and have concerns about off-road vehicle use, as well as entities like the police who provided some general information. We also have been meeting with the lower tier municipality staff, as well as representatives of the Hiawatha and Curve Lake First Nations. So far, in terms of the feedback that we've received to date, as you can see on the slide, I'm not going to go through every point, but you can appreciate that it's an issue that a lot of people have different opinions on. They tend to be sort of one side of the argument or the other, where they view there's a number of benefits to the use of off-road vehicles on public roads. And there are some concerns that people have expressed. So we're trying to keep both sides in mind as we go through with our work. As I mentioned, County Council has adopted a decision-making process for coming to a decision on the off-road vehicle on county road matter. It's a 6-stage process. We're currently in stage 4, which involves consulting with the lower tier municipalities, the First Nations, communities as well as the general public. So we're doing a series of outreach initiatives between presentations like this, public information center, which is currently available online, just to get a variety of input on the different approaches that I'll talk about in just a second, and some of the implementation challenges. Once we complete this round of engagement, we will be preparing a report and a recommendation that will go before the Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee, and then to County Council recommending a course of action with regards to the use of off-road vehicles on county roads. One of the actions that will definitely be identified is something around education and information, because there certainly is a lot of different views and levels of understanding of off-road vehicle use in the county. As I mentioned, we've identified approaches for potentially moving forward. We've categorized them into three. The first approach we're calling the one where the county could just say, we will allow ORV use on all of our roadways. And then there's sort of the other extreme where the county makes the decision of saying, we're not going to allow ORV use on any of its roadways. There's a alternative, what we're calling alternative 2, which is sort of down the middle, whereby the county recognizes that there are certain roads that might not be appropriate for ORV use, and excludes those from operation of ORVs, but ends up creating some sort of network whereby off-road vehicle use would be permitted. So in coming to our recommendation on which of the three alternatives we'll be recommending to the steering committee and council for adoption, there are some considerations, not the least of which are the legislation and the regulations related to it. We're also taking into consideration the various benefits and disbenefits of use, as well as other factors such as enforcement and its impact, the impact of off-road vehicles on property and the county's infrastructure. Alternative 1 and alternative 3, I think, are fairly straightforward from the perspective it's kind of an all or nothing. But if we were to recommend alternative 2, we wanted to get a sense as to where might it be appropriate on the county's road system to allow off-road vehicle use. So we've come up with this 5-step process for identifying what are the potential locations. So we've established a series of evaluation criteria. We've scored the road segments. We've done some comparative analysis based on a series of qualitative factors that aren't as easy to quantify as our evaluation criteria, and come up with a conceptual network plan for each of for the county roads. And you'll note that all we've identified is connections on county roads, and connections to existing identified routes, whether they be trails for ORV use or sections of Highway 28, which have been identified sort of to the north. So what we've been trying to reinforce is that this is a concept plan if alternative 2 were the preferred alternative, but we recognize that there's some more work to do in terms of collaboration with the lower tier municipalities in terms of how it integrates with roads within their areas. So in terms of our issues still under review, we've got a number that we're trying to work through that are going to have the assistance of through this outreach period. So, obviously the network, if alternative 2 is recommended, the shoulders on county roads has been a big issue because it might be a challenge to operate ORVs in some locations. The need for consistent, recognized, and informative signs, pavement markings, and roadside safety features. What to do with the risk mitigation and insurance. If there are any restrictions and impacts for enforcement. And then finally, the financial implications for the county and the lower tier municipalities. So our next steps, this is our last presentation to the lower tier municipal councils this evening. We're just finishing up our online consultation, which goes to early October. Based on the feedback that we've received, we'll recommend a strategy to the Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee, which we're anticipating we will do in November. It's November, December, sort of where we're looking at right now. So with that, Mr. Mayor, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Gene. Now, just to be clear, you're still accepting comments, are you?
Yeah,
Anyone?
yes, we are.
Yeah, okay. So the purpose of this was simply notification on how the process is working. Peter from the county, any comment from you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I do want to recognize the mayor acting in the capacity as warden for the county and steering an effective transportation master plan committee. It's been a pleasure working with you on that in that venue. It is a significant issue with respect to operation of ORVs on county roadways. It's a lot of thought, a lot of interest, and we're looking forward to bringing a recommendation to the Transportation Master Plan Committee in the near future so that the dialogue can continue.
So we do encourage people to get their thoughts in to you, and the more the merrier. Okay, great presentation. Thank you for that, Gene. Any questions from members of council on the process? Carl, go ahead.
There I go now. I have a couple questions, a couple comments. On your benefits, we heard on the right-hand side of the page, feedback summary to date, you mentioned economic benefits to local community, and then you mentioned tourism, and then access to local businesses. Aren't all three of those the same thing, economic development or economic benefits to local community? I don't need an answer to that, but I see that as all the same thing. The other issue I find surprising in this, I don't see any reference to the safety, health and safety of these devices. There was a letter produced by our health unit back in January 2020 that had serious concerns about use of these vehicles on roadways. They talked about from 2001 to 2015, some 20 deaths have resulted in the Peterborough area. From 2011, 2015, there were 9 deaths. Most of those people were in the age 10 to 29. Research indicates that these, and I'll quote from what they're saying here, research indicators that there are higher rates of fatalities and serious injuries on ORVs, riders on roadways compared to off-road. And there's 5 or 6 detailed references as to why that is. And those are from credible agencies to support that. And I guess people that come out to a public meeting or on the internet to talk about this are ATV users, and no one feels they're going to get hurt. It's only, and most of us, if we do use these devices, we assume we're not going to get hurt. But unfortunately, people do get hurt. And I think that should be part of the early stages of this study, because the people that are giving input that, let's say, want certain things should be aware of the risk to themselves and to the family members, because the numbers of incidents are huge in our township, and or pardon me, in our general area, Greater Peterborough area. And I really think that perhaps that's not in your mandate to look at that in the study, but at some point or another, we've got to include that, because if we go down the road here of a recommendation that we do this on this road and this road and this road, and then it goes to county council, and because of the risk of injury and so on, we say no to it, I guess we would end up being the bad guys. And I think we got to look at the big picture here, right from start to finish. I don't know whether you've got any comments on that or not, but I'm surprised we don't have, yes, you have a comment here about risk mitigation and insurance, but most users don't see risk. They're not planning to have an accident. And it's only if something happens out there that their family members sue the municipality or whatever, when something is not right. And so that's my comments.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Jean, any comment on the comment?
Certainly, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the Deputy Mayor. And you've raised some really good points. And so, as part of the work that we have done to date, we did reach out to Peterborough Public Health. They have provided us those statistics, so we are aware of that information, and it's factoring into the work that we're doing. It actually plays as one of the criteria that we look at in terms of, if there are locational or there are sort of spatial differences, if there's a sort of a number of collisions that happen in a particular location, then we're taking that into consideration as we move forward. So I don't think that our work hasn't been completely devoid of considering the safety side of it. We share a number of the same concerns. I think our intent is if County Council is to view this as an acceptable activity on county roadways, then what we want to do is ensure that it's done as safely as possible. And I think that's what we're trying to accomplish through the study, is come up with a recommendation. Because obviously one of the recommendations, like our third option, is that they not be permitted anywhere on county roads. So that option is still available. There hasn't been a decision made yet with regard to the principle of ORV use on county roads. That's sort of, I think that's the first question to answer. And then if the answer is that it is acceptable in some locations, then identify where those locations are from the safest perspective.
Okay, Jean, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. Safety is certainly a significant issue that the Transportation Master Plan will need to consider when reviewing this. There are also studies about the physiological demands associated with operating ORVs. There's health benefits to the users, those machines. There's physical demands in operating the machinery. And it's been studied, there's mental health benefits as well for the users. It's a form of wellness for some of the operators. So we're trying to present a balanced approach for the Transportation Master Plan Committee to consider when reviewing this matter. So both safety and benefits on both sides.
Okay, thank you, Peter. It's important to note that this is indeed a work in progress. The purpose of the delegation is to tell us what that process is. We're right in the middle of it. And Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee are dealing with all the details on a regular basis, and there eventually will be a recommendation. Sheila, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Jean Stantec. Is there a fourth option of considering putting it in place for a certain time period, and being very clear that if this doesn't work and if there's too many mishaps, et cetera, that it's going to be canceled? Is that a fourth option? Or do people not believe it?
A trial period, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, through the mayor and to the councillor, that's a good suggestion, councillor. We'll take it under advisement. I think it would be more from the perspective of it still would end up being an option one or option two in terms of where they're permitted, but it would have the added condition of having a trial period. So, but we'll take that under advisement and as we go back.
Okay, thank you. And one more comment, Tom, and then we're moving on. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Very good presentation, Jean. It looks to me, and I am an avid. I have never made any bones about that. I'm an avid ATVer, but to me it appears you're going in the right direction. You're looking at both sides of the coin, trying to get as much information from every avenue that you can. And I really do appreciate the fact that the county is looking at this, and the fact that that you're doing a fantastic job of trying to sort out what's going to be the best route to go. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Carl, last comment, please.
Yes, thank you. Just one last comment. One other factor, I'm sure that you will consider it, and that is the cost of managing ATVs on roads if it's approved in any fashion. Currently, we don't allow all-terrain vehicles on our roads, except for the 2 roads on the east end of Dummer Ward. But they're out there, and the police are chasing them on our roads where I live on a regular basis. And the costs of doing that would even be greater if they're legalized in some fashion. And I guess that's another factor should be considered in there, because our police people are already busy with Airbnb complaints and of course these ATVs that are on township roads and county roads. So that's got to be considered as well, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Heather, I think I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I do have a question. Just a follow-up, perhaps to Mr. Nielsen, with respect to the transportation master plan and how this all ties in. I understand how it ties in, but seeing the timelines for the ORVs, where does the transportation master plan timeline fit in? Are we looking at something coming forward into the new year on that then, if the work on the ORV is happening through until November?
Thank you for the question through the chair. We're looking at early new year 2022, ideally. A number of activities that are being conducted concurrently with the ORV review. They're progressing very well.
Great, thank you. And just one more question, Your Worship, and thank you for your work on the transportation master plan as warden. With respect to option 2, I'm just wondering, you're talking about having a complete network, a road network, and Mr. Chartier, you had mentioned something around Autonomy South Monaghan, Asphodel Norwood, and Selwyn Townships, not yet having that, and I'm seeing the map on one of your slides, and there's a big void there. What are you anticipating? Like, obviously, you've had dialogue with those municipalities. Where does this look like it's going in the future?
Through the mayor to Councillor Watson, thank you for the question. So the 3 municipalities that haven't enacted a bylaw to date have, sort of indicated that to a certain extent they're waiting for the county to determine a course of action for the county roads to determine how they may wish to respond. In the case of Selwyn, our analysis has not identified any county roads that actually would serve a purpose from an ORV network connection perspective, in part because of the traffic volumes and the speeds on the roads there, and in part because they wouldn't really be connecting anything together. But in Cavan, in OSM, there has to be, I think, there's going to have to be further dialogue with the lower tier municipalities in terms of completing the network, because you're correct that there are some locations where there needs to be a township road connection, or there needs to be cooperation between the county and the township. So I think, as much as we're going to present a recommendation this fall, I don't envision it's going to be the final word in terms of the collaboration between the county and the townships on the implementation. And I think it's going to be, to a great extent, it's likely that there's going to be some slightly different, it's going to look slightly different in different areas, just simply because of the respective interest and just because of the nature of the county roads in those areas.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jean. And you hit it right on the head. And I think we said at the very beginning of this, one size does not fit all. Every little area has different needs, different circumstances, different environment, and this is not an easy task. Okay, that is it. Peter and Jean, thank you very much. And Diana, are you still hiding from us?
I'm still here.
Thank you for listening anyway and being there with us. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having internet issues, so I couldn't have a camera.
Yeah. What else is new, right? Okay, thank you for that. Great presentation. I'd like a motion, please, to receive that delegation. Heather and Sheila. All in favor? That motion is approved. Thank you all very much. You can go get back to work now, Peter. I think you usually work till midnight, don't you? No? Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving to item 9 on our agenda, and that is other business and staff reports. Item 9.1. And our fire chief, I don't believe, is here. Alana, how do you want to handle this one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can take this report. I think Paul's having some challenges with his internet as well. So I will go ahead, and if we need to call on him, maybe he can step in.
Okay, good.
So the recommendation is that the fire chief 2021-14 report dated September 21st, 2021 regarding RFT FD 2021-01 results be received, and that the tender be awarded to Carl Thibault Emergency Vehicles and negotiations be engaged to see if savings can be found and delivery time shortened. Furthermore, to reallocate funds with an upset limit of $38,000 from within the 2021 fire department capital budget. Essentially, the tender did go out, and it was budgeted at $375,000. Both responses came in over budget. There is another item that was purchased that was under budget by $50,000. So our fire chief is asking for a reallocation of an upset limit of $38,000 to be reallocated to the fire truck. And then he will have negotiations directly with the successful proponent just to determine whether or not there are any cost savings based on specific requirements that that company may have. So,
okay, thank you for that, Alana. Anytime we talk dollar signs, I would feel guilty if I didn't get Paul's view. Paul, are you on the beam now? You're good with this recommendation?
Yeah, I can support this recommendation. There were cost savings on another project. I'm always of the opinion that we do our best as staff to budget, during our budget process, but until we go out and get final numbers, we don't know how they're going to come in. And we entirely hope that this is the case, that, we know that some are probably going to come in higher, but some are going to be lower. And overall, we hope it's a wash at the end of the day. Well, we hope it all comes in lower, but realistically, the fact that it's a wash is something that we can work with as a township really easily.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul, and thank you for that, Alana. Any questions? I would entertain a motion then. Sheila, go ahead.
I would make a motion to follow the recommendation, and if somebody would second it, I do have a question.
Do we have a seconder to that? Carl, go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. In the report, it talks about the SCBA budget being nearly $50,000 under budget. Is that because not as much equipment was needed, or because there was a price concern, as Paul had mentioned? I'm not sure who I direct it to, Alana or Paul.
Alana, do you know the answer off the top of your head?
unfortunately, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, and neither do I. I know I've had this conversation with Chuck, but I cannot remember the answer, and I would like to get the answer from Chuck before I.
That would be fine. Thank you.
So maybe
I
Chuck
have no
can,
problem with that.
and they
because I'm
will
sure he has
report
a good
back
answer.
to us. That information will come back to us then. Motion's on the floor. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion is approved. 9.2 is the Employee Group Benefit Plan. Alana, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that CAO 2021-33 report dated September 21st, 2021 regarding the Employee Group Benefit Plan renewal be received, and that council approve proceeding with the proposed renewal with Manulife Financial and AIG at -2% provided by Mosey & Mosey for the Employee Group Benefit Program effective November 1st, 2021.
Clear as mud. Carl, you're going to move that motion?
I'll move the motion with a comment.
Okay, second by Tom. Go ahead, Carl.
I just wanted to thank Alana and staff representatives for moving forward with developing a plan here that's sustainable. And that's really good news to me and I'm sure to council that with the escalating price on benefits. And And I also called attention to council, and council has heard me say this before. When Mosey and Mosey go out for tenders among insurance companies, all of a sudden our provider gives us better rates. And I feel frustrated at times when that happens, because all they're doing is buying business and big conglomerates, and they do it year in, year out. So thanks for keeping them honest.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor.
My secret button wasn't pushed, Alana. I'm sorry. Call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is approved. We have a number of housekeeping items here today. This is the 2022 council meeting schedule. Martina, I'll turn that over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the recommendation on this report is that the Clerk's Planning Department Report 2021-29, dated September 21st, 2021, regarding the 2022 council meeting schedule be received, and that the proposed 2022 meeting schedule be approved with a minor adjustment to remove January 4th, 2022 from the listing. That is the day we come back from holidays, and we would have a council meeting on December 21st. So that agenda would be quite limited anyway. So we thought it was best to save council's time and just remove that from the schedule if it was council's wishes.
Excellent idea. Okay, that would be the motion. Heather?
Your Worship, I'm prepared to make the motion, but I just do have a question on it as well, if I may.
We have a seconder, please. Sheila, go ahead, Heather.
Thank you. Through you to the clerk. 2022, of course, is a municipal election. I'm wondering off the top of my head, is it the October 18th or perhaps the November 1st meeting where we would either be in that, like right before that election period or right after the election where the transition is occurring? Does that seem normal? And forgive me, I don't know actually off the top of my head when election day is for 2022.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It has been the practice of this municipality to continue having council meetings throughout that time to keep council informed and the public informed of activities that are taking place. But of course, we would take all precautions if it was a lame duck council or there was similar type considerations to be made.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Carl, go ahead.
I believe on the AMO website, I believe they're indicating that November 15th is the first meeting for the new council. So I assume November 15th will be the inaugural meeting. It's usually the first meeting, I think, in December, but I think there's changes there that look pretty firm as I read them anyway. So three of these meetings might be for the new council.
Yeah, I'm sure Martina and Alana will be on that as the rules come out, so I'm sure we're on it. So the motion's on the floor to approve that schedule. It can be changed, of course, anytime we want. So we'll call for the vote, please. All in favor? Motion is approved. 9.4, Martina, again, the holiday celebrations this year. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the recommendation on this report is that the report 2021-30 dated September 21st, 2021 regarding the holiday celebrations for 2021 be received, that the Santa Claus parade be canceled due to concerns with COVID-19, that staff be requested to procure gift cards as a holiday token for committees and volunteers, and further that senior staff be requested to arrange an appropriate holiday token to be provided to municipal staff.
Okay. Simple and to the point and the responsible thing to do. A motion, please. Sheila? Seconder?
Yeah, I would make a motion to accept the report, and I do have some comments.
Seconder? Carl?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. With regard to the Santa Claus parade, I did speak to 3 of the 4 members of the parade committee, and of course, everybody was disappointed that was going to be canceled, but they all understood why. And several suggestions were made, and I could outline them now, or I could provide council with the report for the next meeting of what the committee would like to do. Just some simple little things, because one of the big concerns is we didn't have it in 2020. We don't have it in 2021. People are just going to forget it and it's going to go by the wayside. And nobody wants that to happen because it's a very popular event in our community. So whatever council's choice is, I could outline it now or outline it in a report later.
I'd say outline it later at our next council meeting, and we can all delve into it then.
Just so you know, they want to continue with the donation collection of mitts and scarves and things like that, because that was well received. I will have a report for next council meeting then.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, motion's on the floor. All in favor? That motion's approved. On a similar subject, our Remembrance Day Committee have met also, and we're following the same path. We'll again be doing a virtual ceremony as we did last year. Again, it's the responsible thing to do, so there'll be more details on that. Committee minutes, other reports. Human Resource Committee minutes of June 22nd, please. A motion to receive those minutes and approve them. Heather and Tom? All in favor? That motion is approved. We move to bylaws. I will ask Martina to review the bylaw, please. Or do we want Alana to review the bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would ask Alana to review that for you.
You can hide your head in embarrassment if you like. Alana, give us the background on this and what we're doing, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a bylaw to move forward and appoint Martina as the acting clerk in the absence of our clerk. As we move into our election year and a lot happening in that department, it seems appropriate at this time to move her into that acting clerk role to ensure that we're fulfilling all the requirements. So we brought a bylaw forward. We did have some discussion at our HR committee level, and it was directed to come out with the bylaw for council.
Great. Carl?
I would move it.
Moved and seconded by Heather. All in favor? That motion is approved. That bylaw is passed as of right now. Action item correspondence. We have a note from Municipality of Trent Lakes about OHIP eye care. Carl?
I would move to receive that, and if somebody seconds it, I'll explain why.
Okay, Heather will do that. Go ahead, Carl.
I understand through the press that the Interior government are already negotiating with eye doctors regarding this subject. And I really don't think we as a municipality want to get in the middle of that discussion back and forth. So that's why I feel receiving it at this point would be the way to go.
Yep, you're right on. Okay, Carl and Heather, I believe, made that. Is that right? All in favor? That motion is approved. Information items. We have a letter from Township of Cavan Monaghan. Simply a motion to receive the letter, please. Tom and Sheila. All in favor? That motion is approved. We have no accounts. Anyone with a notice of motion?
No.
No. Any community announcements? Carl?
Yes, I have a couple. I think with yesterday's federal election, I feel we, as a township, we should send a letter of congratulations to Michelle Ferrari and her successful bid for the MP for our area yesterday. And a second letter go to thanking Marianne Monsep for her support and help over the last 6 years.
Excellent. Seconder to that motion. We'll have staff work on that tomorrow. Heather will second that motion. And Martina and Alana, have you got the letter written yet? All in favor? Motion is approved. Very important that we work with our provincial and federal representatives. Any other announcements, community interest? Sheila?
I'm not sure that it's an announcement. It's actually a question. I've heard over the past week or so about a number of municipalities where the libraries are printing out vaccine certificates for a number of people. And I wonder if that's something that our library has considered or possibly the office has considered. There are those who do not have access to internet or printing.
Excellent idea. Heather, are you aware of the library doing that? Are there any requests at the township office to do that?
Through you, your worship, I'm not aware of any requests that have come in through the library right now for that to happen, but I'll certainly carry that information
Absolutely.
back to the board.
Great idea, Sheila.
Thank you.
Very much needed for some people. Not everyone has the fancy dancy stuff to do that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Heather?
Thank you, your worship. Through you, just under announcements, the Donwood Parks Committee is holding an informal community park celebration at Clintonia Park to end cap the work that's been going on there. That's happening this Saturday, September 25th at 10 o'clock, and of course, all are welcome.
Okay. Sheila?
Yes, just further to Heather's comment. I had a phone call today saying how fantastic the park was and how many people are using it. And in the evening, you can you hear kids laughing and playing, and it's terrific. I think that's a great thing.
Okay, that is great. We have no closed session. We have a confirming bylaw here, please. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? Motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Heather and Carl, all in favor. That's it. Thank you all very much. Those of you watching on YouTube, please, everyone, stay safe.